Another word that I have written in my list that I want to talk about is the word axiom, which I consider to be foundational in the truest sense of the word. So, an axiom, when you look up the definition of it, um, a lot of the definitions I'm seeing is like a self evident truth in mathematics. Um, But to me, I think of it basically as just an assumption. I think it's kind of a pretentious word. There's a lot of these words like postulate, corollary, axiom, etc. that a lot of times I think that they mean like pretty similar things that basically just or proposition, presupposition, etc. And I get that in the technical sense these all have technical differences, but basically, like they all boil down to assumptions under different conditions. So, an assumption if this is true, then that is true, or an assumption that from this perspective, etc. Like they all basically boil down to assumptions. And axioms are interesting because axioms are assumptions in mathematics. And I get that this channel is covering a lot of deep content or stuff that like might sound a bit unusual when it gets said, but I just think it's the truth that like mathematics is the bedrock that I think is pretty evidently like everything else is coming up out of in some sense. Like right now we're looking at symmetrical patterns, and symmetry has such a deep, profound connection to mathematics, and I suspect with like life and philosophy in general. That's where obviously you get stuff like yin and yang, like light and dark, etc. But when it comes to assumptions as a bigger concept, like as a bigger subject outside of axioms, which are specific to math, an axiom in math I would think would be like the reflexive property, say like let k equal k. So then you'll say the statement 5 equals 5. A lot of times they're so almost trivial that's why they're axioms. But I think some of them at higher levels of mathematics can seem probably to someone like me less trivial. But the assumptions that we make in our day to day life, uh, I claim, are the most important things in our lives, truly. Because whatever you're assuming, you're taking to be true without necessarily doing the work to back up the arguments. In other words, you're saying, like, I'm seeing so many puzzle pieces fit together that I don't even need to assemble the board anymore to see what I'm seeing right now. I'm going to assume that this is what the puzzle looks like. And on some level, we all have to make assumptions in order to explain what is going on and how things do or don't make sense. But I would argue that reevaluating your assumptions is probably one of the best things you can do uh, with your time in life. And again, I think I'll leave it at that.